everyone. I'm John Kovac filling in for Matt Mahoney, calling the meeting to order. So we'll move on to public question period.
Question number one, under agenda item 11.6 regarding the reallocation ratios. My question to the CFO will be what specific residential property tax factors those reallocation ratios would be applied to for 2026. Specifically for the city, last year the factor I believe was $380 per 100,000 of assessed value. It's simply the property tax levy rate. And if that number is increased by 4.39% for a 2026 increase, the number should come out to $396, so about a $16-17 increase for the city. And then for the region, the 2025 factor was $501. And if you apply an increase of 7.5%, not 3.6%, then you get a factor of $539. So my question to the CFO is, are those the factors, the property tax factors for 2026 that the reallocation ratios would be applied against, reflecting an increase of 4.39% and 7.50% and not increases of only 1.61% and 3.60%? Thank you.
We'll go to the CFO to try her best to answer that question.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Kovac, to the deputant. So just wanted to clarify also that this report really is for the approval for the delegation of tax authority to the City of Mississauga. We actually have not calculated the actual tax ratios and rates yet. That report is coming out on April 22nd, I believe. And we typically do that after we have our team, Louise, our manager of revenue and tax, and her team calculates all of the impacts of the different tax classes. So the ratios, it does differ depending on the different tax classes. So in terms of the ratios, that drives the rates, and we have indicated our ratios according to in comparison to the range of fairness that the province has provided. And in terms of the impacts, so it's too premature for me to provide the actual amounts without providing the tax ratios and having that approved in April. And in terms of the calculations of the rates, the 1.6% is basically the city's portion of the 5.2% increase. So essentially it is our budget increase multiplied by the 37% share of our property tax portion. So when we talk about and comparing last year's tax bill amount to this year's tax bill amount, that difference is 5.2%. And when the question is raised as to what portion of that 5.2 relates to Mississauga services, that's the 1.6% that we're referring to. So that is simply a proration of the 37%. And our manager, Louise, is here if there are any specific questions on the individual rates according to the tax classes as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Marissa. I believe that answers the first question. Mr. Anderson, you would have up to one more question to ask.
Yes, but first of all, I think the CFO has fundamentally misunderstood the question. And the question is not what are the various tax ratios for the various product classes that are arrived at by applying those ratios. The question is, those ratios are being applied against a property tax factor that is already known, I believe. My question is, what is that tax factor? And my question is whether or not that tax factor is the same as the 2025 tax factor for the city, increased by 4.39%, and similarly for the region, is that tax factor to which the ratios are applied, not the outcome of applying it, is that the 2025 tax factor increased by 7.5%, and I haven't heard her acknowledge that as yet.
So through the chair to the deputant, so to answer your question, the levy requirements have increased based on our budget increase. So that is the percentage of the increase to the tax levy. And yes, so the region will be under the regional levy portion of the tax rates, and they will increase by the 7.5%, and ours will increase by the 4.4%. The education levy has not changed because they've remained the same for a very long time, and there's a 0% tax increase on their portion of the levy. And when we calculate the tax bill, we do calculate each of the portions based on our levy increase percentage, the 4.4, the 7.5, and the 0, to calculate the global consolidated tax bill increase. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay.
Yes.
That's your second question?
Yes, thank you. That does answer the question. I think, if I understand it correctly, there was a clear identification that the tax factors for the city are increasing 4.39%, and for the region, 7.5%. Now, the problem I run into is that everywhere I look, whether it's media reports, Google searches on AI, the city website, they all indicate that the 2026 increases are the 1.61 and the 3.60%. So there's a fundamental contradiction there. My question would be whether the written mayoral directives issued to the CAO in June of 2025 and July 24, requiring that the CAO, quote, prepare a budget following practice and processes that generally conform with previous years. My question is whether the CAO legally and professionally can interpret that one sentence as providing him with a directive from the mayor. In effect, his interpretation would be a political directive to falsify financial information provided to the media and to residents. If that had been the practice under the prior CAO and the mayor, my recollection of what was mentioned last week is that the directive from the mayor was not...
I'm going to stop you 1 second. I'm going to compliment you. You have a way with words, and you're very thoughtful. But the question, I like things very direct, and I just feel like there's a bit of floweriness to the way you're doing it. So can you just sort of maybe give it to me, give it to us?
What I'm saying is that there's a disconnect in my mind between the mayor saying, please prepare the budget a specific way. Follow processes from before. You know, there's a methodology to preparing a budget. But then the issue of communicating to the public, where I feel there are problems where the financials are being falsified, I don't think that's part of what the mayor has told the CAO to do, but there's extensive documentation that there's AI interfaces being used to manipulate the communication on the internet. So if you go into the internet and you ask AI, you can even argue with AI, Gemini 3, it will insist, I believe based upon the protocols that are being applied, that the numbers they're given the wrong numbers. And the city's website, I could read what's on the city's website. It says, what is the residential, the frequently asked question on the website says, what is the residential property tax increase for 2026 based on the city's budget? And it says the city adopted a 4.39 increase to the budget, which is correct. And what you just heard the CFO say is that is the increase in the tax factor. But what the city website says, what media says, what AI says, is that it means a 1.61% increase on the city's portion of a residential property tax bill, and that is false. And I think it's intentionally false.
Your opinion.
Yes.
So, but there was a question, I think, in there, in fairness. So I don't know if there's somebody here at the table or on the front bench. I'm seeing here seat number 4. That's the mayor. Mayor would like to try to answer that question.
A question with one sentence preamble.
I'm finished. I'm finished.
No, I don't want to.
Question.
I want to have my own.
Forgive us, we're just having a bit of a technical difficulty. with the microphone, a legitimate, when it's not working. So the mayor is just going to switch seats, and hopefully this microphone will work, as that one is not. Okay.
My first concern is you're entering into a debate and you're allowing this delegation to, you're not a delegation, to get into a lengthy back and forth with you, which I don't agree with. Secondly, I'm being accused of giving false or poor direction or actually lying to our staff, and nobody seems to be concerned about what this man is saying, and I am very concerned.
Well, I will say that you've had your 2 questions to ask, and they have been asked. And also the allotted time has run out. If there are no other members around the committee who would like to say anything or speak, we will move on.